Welcome to the Be Real podcast. First show on. Got my son Brandon Bradford here with me today. Real talk, real people, real experiences. So, first of all, quick toast. Yeah, to this momentous occasion. First podcast for the year. So, what we're going to be talking about today, right? A young man's experience in today's time. The world's a crazy place right now. You have social media, a lot of things going on in the world. So, I'm just going to spit some questions at him so he can actually provide some responses from a young man's perspective. And so, the first question is, kind of going to relationships. So, in your opinion, what does the world look like for you and young men alike when it comes to relationships today?
It's it's tough for sure. There's it's definitely harder, I think, than back in the day. I mean, of course, I wasn't there back in the day, but I just feel like nowadays, women and girls alike, standards have definitely changed in the way they carry themselves more. Of course, there's always the rare ones who have the true traditions and stuff like that, but there's also a lot of folks who carry a lot of masculine traits and that way, someone who has standards and has certain goals they want to achieve and stuff like that, that's where you can kind of have the interference. And I mean, it's like, you play with fire, you won't know until you get burnt. And so, and in that case, that's the only way you really find out about the person or whatever. But
So, what's in your opinion? What's the biggest difference between women back in the day versus women today?
while they met women back in the day, a lot more feminine. I think they wanted to be want to be a mother. They weren't really so caught up in attention. I think they were more worried about not worried about, more kinda satisfied with, like, their husband and trying to find a husband and wanting to have kids as well as whether they be working or not, do stuff like that, where nowadays, a lot of girls are just there they want the attention, they want all the spotlight, they want this and that, and never satisfied with it either, and so that's where you kinda yeah.
All right, and that kind of leads into the next question that I actually have for you. So, how would you describe or characterize a pool of women you're selecting from in terms of values, morals, and outlook on relationships? In your opinion, it's like how do they view those things, and what type of morals and values do they?
Yeah, I try to always, get like, deeply understand the girl before, try to settle down or whatever, but yeah, I try to make sure they have goals, some kinda aspiration and stuff like that, but, y
And so, talking about goals and aspirations, so we're actually talking about that today in regards to, women having them, which is great,
yeah.
right? We all need goals in life to get us motivated and working towards something that we believe is important to us. But in your opinion, it's like when taken too far, at least looking from a woman's perspective, how can that have a negative impact on the relationship or the future of a potential relationship, especially if you're in a relationship that's new and that you have that woman too involved or that significant other too involved in trying to accomplish that goal versus being focused.
Yeah, I get you're asking what the
Yeah. So as far as just being too focused on something other than the relationship,
oh, okay. I think a healthy relationship kinda finds a way throughout it all, I feel like there's a even ground, him or her or whatever, kinda settle and figure out, and I think they kinda work through it. I think everybody's goal should be first, I mean, obviously, you wanna you're there for the woman or guy, whatever, but, I mean, at the end of the day, you're your own person, and I mean, I hate to say it, I mean, of course, there's higher beings and stuff like that, but you only really truly got yourself. Of course, you have your parents, stuff like that, but you just gotta make sure yourself's right first. Yeah, and so yeah.
that's all you got,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Right. All right. So all good points that you actually made. So now jumping into the next question. So how do you view girls who have high body counts? And I'm talking about high body counts. In my opinion, a young man like yourself, women have probably two or less. Anything more than two, probably high. And tatted women, tatted, pierced up, full exposure in the way that they actually dress, revealing a lot, short shorts, low cleavage on shirts, different things like that. And women that are actually rude, disrespectful, not only in the way they talk, but the way that they actually, carry themselves. And so, how do you actually view women like that? Maybe just jumping into the body.
Yeah, yeah. So
What's your top?
yeah, so what body count goes is honestly, I feel like nowadays, two or less is unless you find them in high school is extremely rare, in my opinion. I think it's definitely inflated a little bit.
You think it's rare to find girls that have less than two
Yeah,
in the high school level?
yeah. Oh, well, I think high school is like we're gonna if you would find like your high school sweetheart stuff like that, but past that, good luck. Um, yeah. So
Average is, in your opinion.
average, I would say would be like five or less. Five or less is where you're kind of yeah.
And coming looking from a young man's perspective, are you okay with that number, or you think that that's high?
I mean, obviously, I wish it was really like one, or something super, super low. A five, I feel like it depends on the situation. I think on backstory, or whatever. I guess.
Yeah, we were talking about that. You brought up that point with the chat Ocho Cinco,
Yeah,
how I guess his grandmother told him that, hey, regardless of the girl, there's always one guy
yeah,
that can
though.
always go back.
Yeah,
And you and I were kind of talking about that. In my mind, what that kind of comes down to is like the the greater number of guys that a girl has been with, the lower the probability that that guy is you.
yeah, yeah,
And then at that point, if you're in turn entering into a long-term relationship with that girl, then at that point you're at risk.
yeah. I agree, and yeah, I feel like obviously the more they have, the more it's just like you're competing with with a lot of competition. It's not even people who are like open or whatever, people from her past, and yeah, I mean, in that point, yeah, it's whatever. But yeah, and then as far as tatting and stuff goes like that, yeah, me personally, I don't like a lot of tats. I don't like all that stuff. I think
Yeah.
and the same with like a couple piercings is cool, whatever. But like you have a bunch of like other stuff that a bunch of like
So,
obnoxious stuff.
so as regards to location, like tattoo locations, piercing locations, are there some that are more like taboo than others where if you looked at a woman with a tattoo, she only had one tattoo or one piercing and it was in a particular location, that's a no go. Are there any situations like that?
Uh, yeah. As far as tattoos and stuff, yeah, yeah. I don't
Just
not
that one location. If they have one, it's like, hey, she has a tattoo, yeah, but it's on, yeah, on right next to her ass, or or right next to her vagina, where it's like, hey, the guy that's putting that tattoo there, he had full exposure.
yeah.
You see him more, and then in my mind, that creates issue because now you have a girl that's comfortable with a guy down there putting tattoos in those locations that should be that are what I mean that are more private.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, those obviously. Yeah, I think yeah, it's like those are those areas. Yeah, and then yeah, but I feel like I would even before we even got to tattoos and stuff like that, I kind of already have an idea as far as like girl/woman's motives or her intentions are, and then yeah,
Yeah.
but yeah,
Yeah.
you know,
Her intentions with you?
yeah, or kind of feel a vibe out, but they've gotten better at it. They gotten better at
Yeah.
disguising it, and
Yeah.
the game's evolving. You gotta always be on your toes. That's really it. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah. 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 And so gotta speak to this. So in regards to, OnlyFans. So what advice, sometimes, you have girls nowadays that are actually out there on OnlyFans, trying to make some money, right, to provide themselves and provide for themselves, and if they have children, of course, for their children as well. But they're using that as justification for being on OnlyFans. So, in my mind, what I mean, that's big red flag, right?
yeah,
You have a chick on OnlyFans exposing different things, regardless if it's just her feet, right, or other body parts. That says a lot about her
yeah.
and her morals and her standards and what she's open to actually showing other guys other than that guy that she's actually with. So what advice? So what are your thoughts on women that are doing that out there, regardless of age? And then, what advice would you actually give them, in consideration the perspective that a young man may have on a woman?
Yeah, I mean, me personally, I don't like OnlyFans. It's a big red flag for me. I just think that you're showing the whole world, and I think I have more old school views and stuff like that. And I think the body's kind of be more for the partner, and so obviously it's your body and stuff like that. But I think it's more if it's more intimate that way. But if you're showing it to the whole world or whatever, a bunch of dudes like, yeah, I just don't agree with it. No matter what it can be, the feed or whatever. It doesn't.
Yeah,
It's definitely a red flag, and I think for women, I mean, I think it's me a little harder to find a guy who is worthy that's gonna kind of put up with it and like actually be with them for who they are rather than whatever they offer and stuff like that. So
yeah,
yeah,
yeah, yeah. All right. Okay. So you mentioned red flag. So outside of that, it's like, what are some other things you would actually identify as a red flag in a girl in today's society?
yeah. So obviously, besides body count stuff like that, obviously for me, the relationship with her parents, big for me, as well as siblings or whatever. Uh,
Okay. Okay. What about you? Do you consider tats and piercings those red flags as well? I know you kind of mentioned, the numbers that are maybe okay except for those issues for you.
yeah, yeah. There's some tats and some, well, not tats. There's like a certain amount of tats where it's too much for me, and the same thing with piercings, like of course ears and the nose is kind of there, but then past that, just kind of
Yeah.
you're treading into deep
Going
water.
on.
Yeah, so at that point, you just gotta. But
Yeah.
then, yeah. But I mean, other than that, I mean, there's obviously a lot of red flags that come along, well, not come a long way, but you kind of have in your back of your head that just kind of you kind of see it, and you're like, oh, boom, I don't,
Yeah.
see that, and stuff like that. But
So typically it's like, so how do you handle a situation where, you're entering into a new relationship with a girl and say it's been about a month, you know, so people do a great job of putting forth their representative, especially in the beginning of relationships. But after that month period, now you start seeing all these flags and a girl that, wasn't showing those flags. And so typically, how do you handle a situation like that? Or how would you?
um, so with me,
Do you run?
yeah, I mean, yeah, I mean, I think obviously, I think you have three choices. You can, if you for whatever reason, you want to stay with her, you go for it. I don't, props to you. I couldn't do it, but I hope you wouldn't. But yeah. Option number two is yeah, you run away, and that's preferably my option. I don't.
Okay.
There's no point. Or three is kind of accept it and then just don't get too attached to it. You think you kind of already know on what the vibe is, and
Yeah.
once you see all the red flags, you're like, okay, just another guy in the cycle, another guy on the roller coaster.
Yeah.
So that's all it is. And so yeah, either take it like that, where you just kind of detach a little bit, and you're just kind of there for whatever,
Yeah,
and
yeah. Get it.
yeah,
Yeah, get it
and
what you can,
yeah,
while
and
you
then
can, and
yeah,
then
yeah,
and break free.
yeah.
Very good. Body count. So, you mentioned the number. You're talking about five. In your opinion, that's probably like more or less an average now. But in your opinion, is that number real? Whenever girls give that number,
Oh no,
Mhm.
no.
Well, what's the buffer? What's the buffer? So
Yeah,
if you're saying five
I've always heard times three, and so you always times whatever number they give,
times
right?
three,
Times three,
wow,
at least three to five, and so
times three. So if you're saying five, that's like
15.
15.
Yeah, yeah. And I think it's times three, like minus like three or around minus three sometimes. Usually it looks like a little pocket. It's like
Okay.
so like say
Times three plus minus,
yeah,
standard deviation
yeah,
three plus
yeah,
minus three.
exactly. Yeah. So I feel like that.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so, in your opinion, and so taking that into consideration in regards to body counts, like what type of effects in your opinion, does that have on a woman as a result of her being exposed to so many guys? You know what I mean? Five, in my mind, is a lot.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But if you're saying that that number is times three plus minus three, that means on the low end about 12, right?
Yeah.
Three, in my mind, high,
Yeah.
especially for a girl who hasn't entered into a long-term relationship, being committed with a guy that she's actually interested in having a family with and actually growing that. So women with that high of a body count, in your mind, how does that impact them?
I think as far as just like a lot of connection stuff, like I saw a video today actually about like a soda can passing around, and at first it kind of just like touched soda can passing around, and like we used to drink it, They're like, yeah. And then they stuck their finger in there. They're saying their finger, and they're saying, "Would you still drink it?" And obviously, not. And so I think it's a lot of connection as far as like with said person or whatever.
Do
Not
you think lose that ability to really connect
yeah,
with people after being with so many guys?
yeah. And I feel like that, and then kind of always like lingering, I guess, or something like that in the back of their head and stuff like that too. Like maybe they're not consciously, but subconsciously and stuff like that. I think it's kind of always on not. Yeah, I don't think it's conscious. I think they're actually actively thinking about it, but I think in the back of their head, or not even back, but just like when certain situations happen, they're kind of just like,
Yeah. So, all right. So, taking all that into consideration, another question for you. So, how hopeful are you that other young men today will be able to find a significant other that can be trusted, be monogamous, supportive of you and your goals, have a family first, you know what I mean, mindset, while also maintaining the food which she actually represented that actually attracted you to her in the beginning of how hopeful.
not very. There's always, there's the butterflies and the caterpillars,
Mm,
Um,
rare.
yeah, but I just feel like I think eventually maybe in some time it may drop back down, not drop back down, but as far as like women's views and stuff like that, eventually would kind of, I don't say correct itself, but fall back to where it used
Yeah.
to. And
And
but
what do you think is going to drive that? What would drive
I think it's because of men. I think eventually, well, I think even now, I think men have kind of gotten to a point where they don't really see the benefit of, say, marrying a woman or stuff like that, just because if she leaves, divorce, whatever, she can take half
Yeah.
and stuff like that, and you just and then also, especially as if she has a promiscuous past, you're just it's just a lot of stuff, and you just kind of have to work through a lot. Kind of, it's just a lot of not very hopeful. I mean, yeah, like I said, there's obviously the rare ones, and I know they're out there and stuff like that, but you got to thread through the weeds first. But yeah,
Yeah. And I was talking to your sister about that today, right? Everyone's vulnerable,
yeah,
but in my mind, like going back to what you said about the Ocho Cinco and the high body counts, and yeah, and you never know, you don't know what the truth is,
yeah,
right? Because of course they don't want to let you know if they think that you're a catch, right? You're a good guy. Of course, they're not gonna tell you anything to convince you other than, hey, she's the one.
yeah,
She's the one for me,
yeah,
right? So they're not gonna do anything that would incriminate themselves.
yeah.
All right, so taking all that, next one is for so what advice would you give, young men today who are, traveling along their respective journeys in life, trying to figure, shit out in terms of relationships, uh, finance, and everything like that. So good advice. I know you're big on trading stocks. That's a
Yeah,
big level of interest for you right now. I know you're focusing on yourself, trying to improve yourself, which
yeah,
is commendable. Great,
yeah,
right? Because you know what I mean. In my mind, my grandpa always told me, you know what I mean. 100 years from now, women will always be. So you
yeah,
focus on yourself, you go get it, and then women will always be there for you. So,
yeah,
what advice would you give a young man on his journey in life?
yeah. Like you said, working yourself. I think biggest thing is find something that you like to do, and that's bettering yourself as far as whether it be working out or finding some kind of hobby, stuff like that. For me, the gym is big. I feel like you kind of forget about everything in a way in the gym, and it helps a lot, of course, with health wise and stuff like that. But it also just makes you have more confidence by yourself, makes you actually, want to do things and achieve stuff. And so I feel like that. And yeah, just focus on yourself, find your little niche, you know, like you said, like your woman will always be here, and better the higher salaries as a man, the more that are available. And so yeah, just stay focused on yourself, just keep grinding, and it'll all work out. Just gotta trust in the process. So
Yeah, sure.
yeah,
Sure. So on the flip side, so in regards to women who are out there doing what they do, of course, a lot good, a lot bad as well, with some in the middle. So what advice would you give them to put them in a better position in regards to actually find a relationship to have grow that?
Yeah, as for women, I would say for sure is because as far as the guys, work on yourself. Don't try and search for attention as much. If you have confidence in yourself, that's all the attention you really need. So I would say that for sure. Work on yourself, find a hobby, stuff like that. Just find things where you don't have to rely on somebody else. And just and then I would say kind of have your own expectations in a way. Don't be so caught up in social media and stuff like that, even though it's kind of hard to. Um, yeah, just work on yourself. I think that's the biggest thing. And once you figure yourself out, everything else it won't even either matter or you kind of know who you are. And so yeah.
So, kind of, you kind of answered the next question, but in regards to there any wisdom or words that you would actually like to impart on any listen to actually help them better themselves? You know what I mean? Towards women, is there anything else?
I mean, I love the quote that is like, whenever a ship sinks, it doesn't sink from the inside; it sinks from the water coming from the outside in. And so I view that as your body slash your mind. I think that if you just work on yourself and harden that shell around you, you not a lot can phase you. That's the biggest thing is um, emotion is really easy, and a lot of people take control over it. If they know you will react a certain way or have a certain view and stuff about it, and know they can pull your buttons and stuff like that, they'll attack it all day. And so, um, a lot of people don't have the best interest for you. You won't know until you'll find out. And usually what happens is like heard from one guy actually this week that you don't really know your true friends until you need something rather than them needing something. And so, watch your circle, watch you around. They're a big influence on certain people and stuff like that. So I'll just say, yeah, just focus on yourself and everything else falls in place. You just gotta trust the timing. So don't rush the process. Everybody's time place different, and yeah,
Perfect. Perfect. Well, of course, I appreciate you taking the time for this podcast, for the Be Real podcast show. Yeah, I think it's a success.
yep.
And so cheers.
Cheers.
And there we
Yep. Thanks for having me on, and